Life unfolds as it always has, gently, familiarly, filled with laughter, shared stories, and the confident presence of those you love most. You cherish the subway rides with your father on the A&E lines through the heart of New York City, where he never failed to make sure his little girl had a seat. It was a quiet act of care that spoke volumes. You remember the early morning jogs beside him, footsteps in sync, and how just the thought of his cooking still awakens your senses. The flavors, the warmth, the love embedded in every bite. You sit beside him on the porch just as you've done countless times before, unaware that this ordinary moment would soon become a cherished memory. In just 1 month, so much would change. And yet one thing would remain unshaken: the enduring strength of family bonds. This week on the I Choose Health podcast, the bonds that free us, with Renie Roberts Holland. But first, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal, and I want to share that with you. That's also why I've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference, and that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today. Welcome back to 52 Choices, where each week we commit to one simple change for better health. This is week 7, and we're saying to swap soda or juice for a probiotic drink or tea. Now, why this choice matters is because sugar-sweetened drinks like soda and juice may taste refreshing, but they're packed with added sugars that offer little to no nutritional value. Regular consumption is strongly linked to weight gain and obesity, increased risk of type 2 diabetes, inflammation and poor gut health, and tooth decay. Instead of sugary drinks, reach for a probiotic beverage or a natural tea. These options hydrate your body and provide powerful health benefits. Probiotic drinks like kombucha and yogurt-based beverages contain live beneficial bacteria that support your digestive system and immune health. A 2016 review in Nutrients found that probiotic consumption improves gut microbiota balance, reduces inflammation, and may enhance metabolic health. Another study in the Journal of Functional Foods found that kombucha helps regulate blood sugar levels and reduces oxidative stress. Herbal and green teas are naturally sugar-free and packed with antioxidants, which help protect your cells from damage. A 2013 study published in Current Pharmaceutical Design highlighted the benefits of green tea catechins in reducing body fat and improving cholesterol levels. Peppermint and ginger tea have been shown to ease digestion, reduce nausea, and relieve bloating. Now, how easy is it to make the switch? Just start small. Replace just one sugary drink per day with a probiotic or tea. Now choose wisely. Look for low sugar or unsweetened options. Many bottled drinks add more sugar than you'd expect. You can also brew your own. Making herbal or green tea at home is cheap, easy, and customizable. Try different types. Experiment with kombucha flavors, dairy-free kefir, or common teas like chamomile or rooibos. If you crave sweetness, try adding a slice of citrus or a drop of raw honey to your tea, or go for lightly flavored kombucha. It can help satisfy your sweet tooth while still supporting your health. This is your challenge for the week. Ditch one soda or juice each day and replace it with a probiotic drink or tea. Track how you feel after 7 days. Your gut and your mood may surprise you. Stick with it. One healthy choice a week equals 52 better habits by year's end. You're choosing health. You're choosing you.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. That really took me back.
Oh, Renie, we have you here today because I know we want you to share your story with us, and I want you to just paint a picture for us what it was like when you first got that diagnosis, that many years ago. Just paint a picture for us, and just help us understand where you were in life and how that just changed everything in that moment.
So I'll never forget. This was 2025. I mean, sorry, we're in 2025. This was 2017. Around this time, around May. Yeah, about May 2017. Went to the doctor and she started asking me these weird questions like, do I have a will? Who do I live with?
Wow.
And I'm like, why is this doctor asking me these questions, And then she tells me, I had cancer. Now, it's like, after she said that, like everything she said after that went through one ear, out the other. Like, I don't even remember the conversation. And I was like, wait, hold up. Part of me want to believe it, but then part of me, I'm in denial. I'm like, I don't think she really know what she's talking about. I'm only 40 years old. So I'm like thinking, nah, I don't have no cancer. I don't know what she's talking about. I was in denial. Like, I could not believe it, And sometimes it takes a while for me to accept things that are reality. Like, I have like this delayed reaction. So I had a delayed reaction. I was in denial. But I had a physical, it was a tumor. I did a mammogram, which was the most painful thing. Like, I would never ever do that again. And, they ran more tests and she came back and she was drawing like with a blue marker, Sharpie. She's like drawing on my breast. And I'm like, I'm still clueless. I'm like, why is she drawing on my breast? Like a surgeon would draw in preparations for surgery.
Mm-hmm.
It still didn't, it still didn't register like that. And then my mom was there with me, but then she walked out the room. So when I got the news, it was just like, I was in denial. I couldn't believe it. And I go home and maybe for a moment it hit me. And I was like, this can't be. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. How could I was very healthy at that time. I was 2 years into my business. Before I opened the store, I was mobile. So I was 2 years and the money was starting to flow and I was enjoying it. But, my body was going through something else. And it just, I was in a state of shock because I'm 40 years old. Like, how could that be? Right?
And at this point, what had you learned about yourself in terms of your body, right? In terms of just things that you probably didn't realize that you may have neglected that may have brought you to this point, or like what things did you learn during this process?
So, I learned about my body that first I noticed that I had to learn how to control or process stress or deal with things that I had suppressed over the years. Because I think a lot of it came from me suppressing emotions over the years, not dealing with things, because I would go out and jog. At one point, I was like vegan for a few months and I was enjoying it. And so I didn't have a bad diet or anything. I just didn't process my emotions properly. I harbored a lot of stuff. I suppressed a lot of things. I didn't deal with a lot of things. And eventually, when you don't deal with it, it's not going anywhere. It's going to manifest itself somehow. And, living in Delaware, I had just moved back. I had a tenant. I had to evict. So that is added stress, and then renovate the house because I just couldn't move right in behind them the way they were living. I was like, okay, now I got to renovate my house. So imagine living in a house that's under construction and then you get a cancer diagnosis on top of that. And, your business is only 2 years old. So it's like you have to figure out a way to take care of, and then your child, you got to take care of your son. He's in a new school. It was a lot on me, and I was trying to be superwoman, and I'm not superwoman. So it was a combination of different things. And then Delaware doesn't have the best water or air quality. So dealing with that too. So I learned about myself that I have to learn how to process my emotions, learn not to suppress, and learn to take care of myself as a holistic individual, like mind, body, spirit, not just the body, but the other two components of my being.
Yeah, dive into that a little bit, because I know that a lot of people are very skeptical about a holistic approach to dealing with cancer treatment. And, you know, myself, you know, being vegan and being somebody that has always been open to the holistic side of things, the majority of people usually aren't. So how, just kind of dive into that, and how did that go, especially talking that over your family and saying this is kind of the path I want to go in terms of my treatment. You know, paint again a picture for us what that was like as well.
Oh, the interesting thing is I'm a natural rebel, right? Like, I go against the grain. I think outside the box. I just don't like to follow the path that everybody's on. So when the oncologist told me, go to Mexico, don't do turmeric, I was like, well, why is she even putting that thought in my head?
Right.
So I do exactly what she told me not to do. And that is where the light bulb went on. So I blamed the oncologist. She was like, oh no, you got to get treatment. Don't do none of that stuff. And I'm like, I wasn't even thinking that. But now that you've put that thought in my head, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my research. So I did my research. And I read this book. Oh my gosh. It is called, what is the name of this book called again? I'll remember it at some point during this video. I will remember it. But Radical Remission. The name of the book is called Radical Remission. And it named, in the book, it was pretty much testimonials of people who had healed themselves naturally without conventional treatment, or they had done that and it didn't work, and they learned how to heal naturally. And so in that book, there were like 7 key components that everyone did. And these are people, different parts of the world, right? The first and foremost important thing was their spiritual life. They had to have whether you were a monk, you know, or you were a different religion, everybody had to have some type of connection to a higher power, a higher being, in order to heal. Then it was definitely clean air, clean water, exercise, some form of exercise, eating food that had life in it. And food that have life is food that we grow, right? So it's natural fruits and vegetables. And they probably was like 1 or 2 other things. I don't remember, because it's been many years since I read that book. But they all had those things in common. And, you know, they use the earth to heal them. And they, you know, the spiritual power, they was able to tap into that, you know, whether it's through prayer or meditation. And fasting was, I think, probably on the list too. Fasting was really important. And so when I started doing that, I started seeing major changes within my health, you know, in my thinking, in my mind. But I'm still rebellious, you know. I realize that God is going to heal you the way he wants to heal you, and he's going to use the tools that he wants to use. And you don't get to dictate how God is going to heal you. Or you just got to know that he has. And he has already done it. Even before he even does it, you got to know I'm already healed because God healed me. And I had to program my mind to think in like, okay, future tense, I'm already healed. That's really past tense, but I'm believing it. So faith is, you know, the evidence of things hoped for, right? Being sure of what you hope for and uncertain of what you can't see, and being certain of what you cannot see. So even though I can't physically see it, I already knew, like, this thing gonna end in death. He gonna heal me. I'm already here. I had to declare I'm already healed. Because if I say I'm going to be healed, that means I'm always gonna be healed. But if I'm already healed, that means it's already done, because it's done. The end is done. You know, he knows the end before the beginning. So I had to do it. I had to think as if it was already done, rather than not as it's always going to happen. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
No, that makes perfect sense, and it definitely reminds me of a lot of the scripture texts that kind of reaffirm that type of thinking. You know, where it says that I believe there's a verse that says, "He that comes to God must believe that He is, and He's a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him." I think that was in the book of Hebrews, right? And so, just those principles of just understanding that for a thing to be, you have to already have it established here, right? And to admit and act on those things as though it already is.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I learned I had to win it here. Before I could win it in the physical, I had to win it here. And that was like the secret right there. I think that's the secret to everything, is winning it in your mind. Because, different forces are after your mind. But if you believe God and you know God, and God does not, he don't lead you astray. He always, like, his word cannot return to him void. So in my house, I used to have scriptures all over: bathroom, kitchen, living room, bedroom, all sorts of healing scriptures. And every day I passed by it, I read it. I had it in my heart, in my mind. So I believed it. And a lot of miraculous things happened during like a 3-year period. And so during that time, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He was, deteriorating slowly. And I could not have imagined going through traditional, like conventional, when I say conventional, I mean like chemo radiation surgery during that time, because I would not have been able to spend any time with my dad during those 2 years. I didn't know he would pass with almost 2 years to the day that I got diagnosed. I had no clue. You can't predict the future. You don't know. But God allowed me to have that moment, to choose how I wanted to heal, so that I could have a closer relationship with him, with God, and to enjoy the last few, the last 2 years of my dad's life. Because I'm his little girl. I enjoy sitting on his lap. Even up until, the last year, the last Christmas, I'm sitting on his lap still.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And and the one thing I'm seeing consistent is the strength of family, the strength of a relationship with God. And, we had LaRuby. LaRuby was a college friend of mine who overcame ovarian cancer last year. And she pretty much went through a very similar experience in terms of strengthening her spiritual relationship. She started to eat more naturally and holistically, and she pretty much developed like her own routine of her way of like helping to heal herself. And so that's something that I'm seeing that's very consistent in these stories. So I want to also just go a little bit further with your like family bonds. I know you, even in some of your posts, you mentioned your mom as well, and how she consistently continued to break down scriptures and would always say, "Hey, trust God." Right? Like that was like a consistent thing. So just talk about how that, I mean, you already kind of spoke on it, but how that played a major role in the recovery process.
So my mother, ever since I was a little girl, like she would be the one to break down the Bible to me. If I had any question at all about the word, and I used to have very complex questions that even sometimes pastors couldn't answer. But my mother, for some strange reason, she knew how to answer those questions. Plus, she's a seminarian too. So during that time, anything I wasn't sure about, I would ask her, and she would answer. And we had to do some healing within ourselves too. Things from past hurts, things that happened that really wasn't either one of us fault, but it was just things that happened growing up, that we had to face. At one point, I was living with my grandmother in Trinidad. I was 3 years old, I remember. And my mom, and my dad they weren't together, but my mother came back up to the States to finish her education. My dad came and got us. And I kind of resented my mom at one point for that, because I was like, man, I'm 3 years old. I miss my mom, but I understood now as an adult why she did what she had to do. Mm-hmm. And so that had to be dealt with, because I was carrying that around with me for years. So that's part of the healing process too, learning how to forgive. And the Bible teaches us In order for God to forgive us, we have to learn how to forgive other people, right? And so you can't forgive until you really deal with it face on. Sometimes you're fortunate the person is alive, sometimes they're not. It doesn't mean that you have to reconcile with people. I mean, I love my mom and we were never apart, but I had to forgive her. I had to release that because I was holding that in. And so the other part, not just my mother, but my brother supported me. My brother Dave, like he was like my rock. Any type of supplement or herb or bush, and my mother too, they would bring it for me. You know, they would buy it for me. He came with me to Mexico to the Hoxie clinic. For those few days there, he even got himself, you know, some herbs and things like that. And you know, it was a true journey, and I felt good that he was by my side. He did not want me to do the chemo or the surgery or anything because at this time we didn't know anybody who went through what I went through and survived. You know, everyone that he heard of that got surgery, they never survived. So he didn't want to lose me, you know. So it was like, okay, I'm going to support you in whatever your decision is, but I'm glad that you decided to do this holistically. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's one thing, you know, as a personal trainer, when I work with my clients, and I don't obviously force my clients to accept my philosophy on health, but one thing that I do reiterate is that the body needs to be brought back into balance, right? And so there's a lot of things that needs to happen, from the mental to the body. There's just so many things that need to come together to bring everything back into balance. And then once those things happen, you know, that's when the body really experiences true healing.
Right. So I feel like everything, like my mind, like there were times that I would go like on a water fast. I would either do like 3 days or 5 days. Those are like the most powerful times in this journey where I truly felt a healing coming on. But God kept me awake. Sometimes he kept me awake for 2-3 days at a time, and I wasn't even tired. I'd be up 72 hours, full of energy, no food. My food was the word. Like he would feed me through his word. Like I would be like on a spiritual high during this time. I would begin to see things too in the spirit realm. Even before it happened, I would start to see things and it would manifest. But it took a lot of sacrificing of self, you know, denying of self, and really tapping in, really getting down into that word, really praying, you know, praying for hours at a time, just praying throughout the day. And I saw like God he really came through. He really spoke to me, you know, during that time. And I felt healing in my body. And when I think there was a time I went to South Africa. Oh my gosh. I felt like, whoa, this food is so good over here.
Yeah.
I mean, the food was so good. It was like, America, I feel like our food is depleted. Like you can eat vegetables, but it's not as powerful. It doesn't have as much life as it does in other places where the soil is rich, you know, and the sun is coming out and the water is clean. Here, it's been a journey, but yeah, to your point, you have to like in order to manifest, you gotta tap in.
Yeah. And you know, one thing that I find interesting as well is, you know, we're definitely always like encouraged by other people's strength, or we're always encouraged by the way they dealt with difficult times. And growing up, I would affectionately know your dad as Uncle Cecil. And so I would always hear stories about like he was this strong man and that he was in these bodybuilding competitions. I was always very intrigued about that because I would see a picture or two, but kind of, you know, paint a picture for us with that as well. I wasn't aware of his particular feats. And then when you can also speak to where you were able to draw on strength from just, you know, his examples in the past as well.
Let me tell you, my dad was the most fit guy I've known. I mean, he was always into physical fitness. We had a little gym in our room, in the back room next to the kitchen. We had one there first, and then eventually it moved to the basement. but we were always working out. He sent us to the Y. I mean, I was in gymnastics, my sister too. My brothers, they were into cycling, so they were, riding from Queens to Long Island, from Long Island to Manhattan, so we were always involved in some type of athletic activity. And my dad would, even in college, like he would get up in the morning, I'm jogging with him, and I'd be tired, but this man is just going. And I'm like, I can't let this man outrun me, So, but he's very disciplined when it came to that. Even down to like maybe a few years before he passed, he was still out there, still working. I have a video on my phone of him just lifting weights in the basement, and he's lifting it with vigor. And I'm like, this man is like in his early 80s, and he's just, he's still pumping that iron.
Yeah.
So it's like, I knew I come from good stock, My dad was definitely, and he cooked every day, and we had a garden in the backyard, and so a lot of our food came from the backyard, right? So he really believed in keeping his body fit, and he put the right stuff in there, and he didn't believe in eating out. Like, eating out was a sin. To eat at a restaurant was like a big sin. Like, we were not allowed to do that, and if we did do it, it had to have been like some major event, like we graduated from school or something, we would get to go. But after a while, my dad's cooking was so good, we didn't even crave that stuff. We're like, you know what, Daddy, I just want a barbecue. I just want, just cook at home. Like, we didn't really crave the restaurant food because my dad was such a great chef. So, and before I was born, I was told that he owned a restaurant in Brooklyn. And so, he's like my dad was an entrepreneur to the heart, but yeah, he was definitely fit, and everybody in my family, all my siblings, we all followed suit too. So that was like, it's part of our DNA.
Yeah. And I know that you've also followed suit as an entrepreneur in your right as well, because I know you are doing, I know you are a jack of all trades, but it's kind of like, take us down the road of what you are also doing in terms of your work.
So I have a beauty supply store in Bear, Delaware. We're going on 3 years. I've been in this space 3 years, but we opened during COVID. So technically, like the first few months, we weren't really open. We were still building out the space and getting inventory, and there were some delays with that. But it's been going on 3 years come September. And so this was something that my dad used to always tell my cousin and I to do. Was we used to go to, there was a Black-owned beauty supply store in Queens, but if you go to Jamaica Avenue, there was a Korean one. And the Korean one was a lot bigger and it had more stuff. And we would come home complaining to my dad about how these people are and how they treat us. And my dad would always say, well, why don't you open your own? He would always encourage me and my cousin to open our own, to build our own, to have our own. Like, entrepreneurship was something that he always encouraged since we were young. So the idea of not having it, of not being able to do it, was not something that I thought, like, my dad said I could do it. He encouraged me to do it, so I'm going to do it, right? So it wasn't like something that was foreign. And so, I wish he was here. But it's okay, because I know he still sees from heaven, that his words did not fall on deaf ears, that, with the help of God, we were able to open our store. So we sell beauty supplies, but we also do workshops for the community. So they come out on weekends and we might paint. We might make body butter. We do different things. And, so that's something that I definitely got from my dad.
I know that you, as you said, you were always a rebel and doing things differently. What were some additional changes you made when it came to diet and exercise? Specifically diet, what were the major changes that you had to make?
Cutting out sugar was like number one. And I used, at one point, I would read the labels more. And if there was any sugar, I would be like, I can't use this, because I didn't want to feed the cancer, right? Because cancer does feed off of sugar. But it would feed off of other things too, because if you starve the sugar, it's going to find something else to feed off of. But at least for one thing, the sugar is what caused the inflammation In order to get rid of inflammation, you got to get rid of the sugar. So I had to cut that out. I had to cut out things that had yeast in it, because yeast is, it grows with the use of sugar as well. So I had to cut out a lot of stuff out of my diet. Some of them I reintroduced, but for the most part, there's things that, I try to stay away from, just to maintain my health and just to feel good. So, yeah.
And again, with this podcast, we're not obviously making any claims here, but if you've noticed that there's a consistency in terms of going from LaRuby's story to now to Renee's story, the consistency of, eating a more holistic diet, which is something that is good for the body to maintain optimum health. So when we start eating the way that we do, unfortunately, the way that we do in the West, even though the food is appealing, right? All the fries and the burgers and stuff like that. America is also one of the number one places that has a lot of disease, a lot of cancers. There's just so much that comes from living this type of lifestyle. And so, I think it's important to just take note of that and just reevaluate the way that we eat, reevaluate the way that we do things in relation to like dealing with stress, as you pointed out, and how difficult, how you had to change just the way that you were processing and dealing with stress as well.
I think too, the time when I was running the mobile business, I'm not gonna lie, I was eating Burger King every Thursday. Like clockwork.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, like clockwork, I would eat this burger, and and I would feel so tired and weak, like it would take me a few days to recover. And it's not just me being in and out of the car. Is what I'm putting in wasn't fuel. So when I got diagnosed, I cold turkey, stop eating that stuff, and I would juice. So in the mornings, I would make 32 ounces of fresh, whether it's carrot, ginger, pineapple, whatever fruits and vegetables I had at that time, I would juice that, and I would try to make a big jug, because that definitely helped. I noticed a difference in my energy, when I'm jogging, I wasn't tired as much. Yeah.
Well, Renee, we want to thank you so much for definitely sharing your story with us and just being vulnerable with us, just to share not just how you overcame cancer, but how those bonds, those family bonds also were so vital to you overcoming. But then obviously, more importantly, your faith in God, how that helped to overcome. And so at this point in the show, we want to give guests the opportunity to just share with us what you have coming next, because I know that you're an entrepreneur. So what things you have coming up next, whether that's events or, maybe a shop opening, whatever you have coming up next. And if we can find you on social media, also let us know where we can find you.
So definitely at J Renie Beauty, and Renee is spelled JRENIEBEAUTY. So all my social tags are J Renie Beauty. Coming up next, I'm going to be real honest with you. I had a conversation with God, and I'm learning to allow myself to hear from Him before I go off doing things because they look good and they sound good. So I can't tell you right now what's coming up next, because I have not been released. I have not heard a clear word. And sometimes when we move prematurely, it's flesh, and things don't always pan out the way we expect it to. But if we just sit and wait and listen for the voice of God and follow whatever the instruction is, sometimes it may take a while for you to hear Him clearly, because you got a lot of noise around you. So I'm waiting to hear Him clearly before I go jumping off into doing other things. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. And that's a relationship, right? We're just waiting to, making sure that both parties are on the same page. So, of course, as He is, head of your life, obviously just waiting for that response. So there's definitely not a problem to not know what it is, but just knowing that whatever it is the best thing for you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Renie, thank you so much again. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you to those who are watching on YouTube as well. And if you also have a story of where you overcame. Also share it with us via social media. You can also Instagram us at mindcorefitness1 and just let us know and share with others how you're overcoming, and then share with others how the stories you're hearing here are helping you to overcome again. Again, I'm Stephen Leslie. I'm your host with the I Choose Health podcast. Just reminding you that choosing health is choosing power, possibility, and purpose. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey there. If this episode gave you a fresh perspective, a little peace, or the motivation to take your next healthy step, don't forget to subscribe to the I Choose Health podcast right here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video, and watch until the end. Every second counts in helping us spread healing and hope to more people like you. Your support helps us bring more real stories, powerful tools, and life-changing habits to light. So thank you for choosing health, one choice, one video at a time.